Welcome to Game Set Matchup, the podcast where we talk everything partnerships, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
So, hey everyone, I'm Carl Busby, your host of Game Set Matchup, #1 partnerships podcast, and we are back with another episode. So today I caught up with Viktoria Kampbell, who is the founder of a business called Activate. So Victoria is originally from Canada, has worked in some different businesses in quite a few different countries. Her background is in the film industry, which she attests to as an extremely chaotic business. And she's also spent 5 years at Shopify, helping businesses to sell their products. And after that, decided to take a break and come to the UK, Edinburgh more specifically, to start a new challenge and a new business. As we know, starting your own business in a new country is always going to have its challenges, and it was great to catch up with Victoria and find out how she is tackling those. With Activate, she's looking to help more businesses become more operationally sound and streamlined to help them be as productive as they can be. We talk about what are some of the qualities she looks for in a business before deciding who she'd like to work with, and also about having that positive mindset can really make a difference when making decisions on your future. So as always, we at Finder are helping businesses to get that first discovery call with a vetted decision maker, and we are 9 times more effective than those other solutions. So if you want to find out a bit more, feel free to reach out, connect with me on LinkedIn, and the details are in the description. As always, enjoy this week's episode. Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to Game Set Matchup. This is the podcast where we discuss all things partnerships. Maybe you're new to the partnerships world, maybe looking for a bit of advice, how to get started, or, you might be an experienced pro, just looking for a bit of inspiration or direction. Whichever one it is, as always, we thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Carl Busby, and again, please welcome our guest today. It's Viktoria Kampbell from a company called Activate. Hello, and welcome, Victoria.
Hello, very happy to be here.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for coming and speaking to us today. So like always, we like to just get to know our guest a little bit better. Obviously, we've met at a previous Finder Collective event, so I know a little bit about you, but guests don't know who you are. So if you wouldn't mind just giving us a little bit of a sort of overview, just about sort of yourself, a bit about your sort of background and sort of like what's led you to being kind of Activate today.
Yeah. So I am originally from Canada. I moved to the UK. Oh my goodness. Time is flying by. It's about 8 months now. I was working at a company called Shopify for about 5 years. I was in a variety of different positions there. And then I decided to move, and then I decided to quit my job. And I figured if you're jumping into the deep end, why not jump in with both feet and just start everything brand new. And I didn't know what I was going to do. And then I decided to start Activate Agency, which is the company that I work at. It's mine. And I work in operations. That's my background. And so I work with companies to basically become more organized. So I bring a sense of calm to the chaos, essentially. Before that, I was in the film industry. I grew up in the film industry. And so I was doing a lot of different things in different departments, but predominantly the camera department. And I don't know if any of the viewers or listeners are going to know anything about the film industry, but it is a chaotic world. It's absolute chaos. And so I think that's sort of where the spark of operations, loves of operations sort of came, was just working with different companies and production companies as well.
Oh, that's amazing. I think, just to touch on, obviously you said, originally from Canada, obviously now, obviously you're in the UK. And I think when we spoke before, you said you've obviously worked in or been into other countries as well. Like, I'm just interested, probably listeners, what sort of sparked you to want to, come to the UK, like specifically? You could obviously go anywhere in the world, I guess. So it's like, why the UK? Because probably not, it's not the best weather here. So,
I think I'm one of the few people in the world that actually likes rainy weather. So I chose the right place to go.
You've come to that place.
Yeah, I was looking into a few different places, but I thought my family background is from the UK. And so I figured if I come here, then I can sort of connect with the family roots, so to speak. It also, my mother tongue is English. And so I speak a little bit of some other languages, but not fluent. I've been in other countries I don't speak the language, but it's hard work.
Yeah.
I have a lot of respect.
We're not gonna test you now, so don't worry.
Yeah. So I chose the United Kingdom for those reasons, and also I heard that it was beautiful, and I have not been proven wrong. And the people are lovely here. I'm really enjoying it, honestly. 8 months in, and I'm like, this is gives a very homey feeling.
Yeah. No, that's really nice to hear. I was glad having such a good, experience. Okay, yeah. So just quickly, again, obviously with Finder, we're all about sort of partnerships or helping businesses to come together. Getting that first discovery call and having a conversation. So obviously, I know you said this. Obviously, your company. I think it sounds like something quite sort of new. So in terms of obviously trying to build that up. But for Activate and what you're doing, you said obviously looking after sort of operations. What would for you, if you could class as like a gold star, sort of partnership or someone that you would, a company that you want to work with. What does that look like for you and Activate?
Yeah, I've been asked that a couple of times, and my answer sort of remains the same, where the stuff that I do is not as much about the company that I work for specifically. It's more about what do they need. And so for me, being in biz ops, I can work with really any company. And because it's about organization and making sure your foundations are solidified and your infrastructures are in place and all of that. As far as partnerships for the ideal companies that I like working for, I love working for companies that do good for the world. I think that it's a really nice feeling just knowing that you're working with somebody that's doing something that's benefiting in whatever aspect. Like when I was at Shopify, one of the things that I really enjoyed was waking up knowing that I was helping people have businesses so that they could put food on the table for their kids. Absolutely. So it doesn't necessarily mean, green energy that's really good, but it doesn't have to be something that's like quintessentially one of the good companies. It's just, are you doing something that's positively benefiting the world or positively benefiting humanity?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think, and for me, obviously, work with tons and tons of different businesses and seeing all sorts of things. That has become quite an important thing, I think, nowadays from a business perspective, also from a customer's perspective, when they look to particularly use a particular business or whatever it is, they will look at those sorts of things now, where I think obviously previously that wasn't something, that was kind of high on the list. So, they look at like, what's their diversity like? Are they, like you said, putting stuff back into the world, obviously all the stuff that's going on with the, oil and, that kind of stuff. I think, people really do. It's important to people now. That stuff, they won't just pick, any old sort of organization. So yeah, no, I think that's a great sort of thing to have. So just obviously again, I'm making an assumption. So in your business right now, obviously with Activate, is it just yourself or anyone else that you kind of work with, or is it just yourself?
At the moment, it's just myself. I've been sort of playing around with different models of how I want to go forward with it. But it's the nice thing about when you're starting with yourself is you can sort of like, you're the guinea pig. I'm my own guinea pig. And so I kind of know what I want to do. And then I'm like, okay, wait, no, I don't want to do that. No, I do want to do this. So, you can sort of play around and test things out. As far as it looks in the future, I'm not really sure. I also sort of take on the model of walk through the doors that open. And I think that that's been sort of how things have been going for me so far in this situation, in previous situations. And so I'm just going to sort of take it day by day or month by month and then figure out what I'm going to do after that.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It makes sense. I mean, I think one of the beauties, I guess, obviously at the moment as well, like you can make decisions and, you said something doesn't work, you can try something different. You only got yourself to answer to it, which is, is a nice thing to have. So yeah, just, I guess, lead on to, I mean, again, I guess a lot of listeners would probably find it quite interesting that, so obviously you are at the moment, obviously doing this, obviously by yourself and like, getting out there and talking to people and finding out, about the business that, potentially you could work with or you can help with. So how would you say sort of right now, so you're going about doing that in the sense of like, so for example, I mean, Finder would be a perfect example. If you're looking to talk to, different businesses who, might, want to talk to someone, in terms of what you're kind of doing, which might be able to help them. So like sort of how are you sort of going about sort of trying to find those? So I mean, again, obviously I said, we met at a, obviously event, obviously that Finder hosted, which was for, people to come to. to help with obviously networking and obviously meeting new people. So yeah, what sort of things are you kind of doing to sort of help find people that you can actually talk to and potentially maybe find a synergy or strike up something that could work for you?
Yeah, honestly, a lot of where we met, a lot of networking events. I think that, especially nowadays that we can go back to doing things in person, I really like doing things in person because it creates in my opinion, for me, I find that it creates a more solid connection. So I go to a lot of events. I'm not gonna lie, it's a lot. I think I average probably about 3 a week at least. Wow. So just going to different things, talking to different people, striking up conversations and having personal connections with people, I think is really, really beneficial. There's a variety of different ways. That's definitely not the only way to do it. And there's stuff online that you can do. There's forums that you can be a part of and all of that. But I found that for me, being able to have that conversation, because especially the area that I help companies, you don't really learn about that just by reading or something on a forum. It's more, let's just have a personal conversation. And they're like, oh, this thing is just giving me such a headache. And you're like, okay, that's good to know. So I think it's a lot more of the in-person aspect. Yeah,
that makes sense. I think something you just probably touched on there as well. It's like, when you are looking to work with a business or a particular person, whether it's more sometimes around finding out, what problems are they having and how can you help to resolve them, rather than just I do these things and does this have any sort of service? Do you know what I mean? If someone's got an issue or a problem and you can look to try and fix that, then obviously a lot of the times that gets people, I think, more interested in you could actually keep that. Yeah. So I think, like I said, obviously doing that obviously in person, we all know that technology is great, Zoom's great, all these things, these tools are really, really good. But, like I said, having a conversation in person just builds a much better connection. You said like 30. I guess, is that a balance of in person and I guess online as well? Or you actually doing that many in person?
So on average 3 a week, but that would be in person. It's sort of, and then I do find sort of the niche areas that I like. So I'm like, okay, I like this event, I'm going to go to this one repeatedly. I like this event, I'm going to go to this one repeatedly. And then because of it, it sort of snowballs into a snowball effect, because I'll go to an event and then I'll talk to some people and then they'll say, hey, you should come to this one, or we should meet for this thing or whatever. And so then now there's more. And so it's sort of branched out into this whole tree of life of different events.
I imagine. I was just going to say, how do you keep track of everything? I mean, if you've got a very
very robust organizational structure.
yes. So you can keep track of what everything that's going on. So that's amazing. So one of the things we like to ask guests. So as you said, you're from Canada. I think obviously for me, I've always I was born obviously in the UK. Obviously, all kind of lived in the UK and stuff. Not something that's ever sort of come in mind to work, in different countries and stuff like that. So you've got obviously kind of experience of dealing with different, I guess, cultures and the way people work and stuff like that. So with that experience now, and again, I can you still look very young, but we like to ask people, for your younger self, like starting out before you did any of any of this stuff, anything that you would give advice to you, except before you kind of started on this journey and obviously to where you are now, any sort of pitfalls or it might be like one standout thing that you could be like, this is what you should try and do a bit differently next time. Any thoughts on those?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I would say is just do it. I think that there's so many situations where it's like, oh, should I do that? Like, I'm scared. It seems so big. Like it's so nerve-wracking. Moving across the world is nerve-wracking. Starting a business, it's nerve-wracking. But the thing is that there's always going to be nerve-wracking things. And so I would just say, don't try to go for perfection, just start, and then you can fix it as you're going through. Because, if you're waiting to have the perfect moment where everything's going to be in line and everything's going to be perfect, you're never going to get there, because the amount of things that I've learned on the way through traveling. Like I have traveled so much in my life, like the amount of travel things that I've learned, like have your things ready when you're going through security. Don't organize it when you're at the bar for security. Do it beforehand. Like just little things like that to make your life a lot easier. So when you add all those little things up for your life, for travel, for business, for whatever aspect of your life you want to do, I just say do it, because life is short.
No, I love that. And I think, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say, I mean, okay, still quite a brave thing for, to do, well, even one, starting a business, but also, moving to another country as well. It's like a double whammy. But I think the key thing for that point as well is like, just obviously it's doing it and not being, not being afraid to, things aren't necessarily going to work out. Nothing is obviously, perfect in life. And you learn from the little mistakes you make along the way. And obviously, that's how you grow. I think obviously I'm sort of a big believer in that. If you're uncomfortable with things, sometimes that's you're growing.
Totally.
If you're just kind of doing the same things all the time and you're in that routine, you can probably do them really well, but you just as a person, the skills and stuff, you're kind of sort of plateauing. So I think that's probably been the case for you probably in a lot of things where you've not very been the most comfortable, but.
But I get bored otherwise, honestly. Like if I was just staying in the same spot for my whole life and I was doing the same thing every day, I would be so bored. And so when it gets to a point where something's actually easy, like I'll be like, this is my goal, I want to get there. And once that gets easy, then I'm like, great, now I want to take it to the next level, because even though that was my goal, I would get so bored if I stayed doing the same thing forever. So that makes a lot of sense. I think, like you said, I think obviously everyone's different. Some people obviously like the routine, and that's kind of totally. Whereas obviously some, like you said, it can just once you've done something or you feel that you've reached it, you're like, I need to you want to move on and do something different. So just to touch on again, I mean, obviously worked into obviously a lot of kind of business companies around the world. We like to ask, and again, this may not be necessarily, I mean, I don't know if you have managed teams or I'm sure obviously you've worked as part of teams. I'm sure that you've done obviously lots of that. Like I said, is there any, what would you say, like in terms of, having a good team or, what we call like a high, performing team, any business has to have people that high performing in order for it to obviously to get to those heights, and obviously having the right culture within the business is also a big thing. I mean, that's one of the things that gets talked about a lot these days. Like you have like the top 20 companies to work for, all these kinds of things where people now actually care about, I'd like to go and work for them because they do this, they do that. So just kind of, I guess, like you said, on your travels, the companies, the business that you sort of worked at, what would you sort of say really helps to have a high performing team, or having a good culture within that business that helps to to drive people essentially and obviously help the business? Yeah, I think the number one thing I would say for that would just be, well, actually two. I've got two: communication and respect. I think those are the biggest things on my side of it. The team that I had, I would have weekly meetings with the people on my team, and it would just be a moment for us to be very candid and say, okay, so what is working, what's not. And that's not meaning that I'm going to get offended if it's something that I'm doing, or you're not going to get offended if I say, let's pivot and go in this direction. But the reason that I wanted it that way was because the fact of having it so open means that we can fix the problems before they become a problem, or we're not having to change your emotions of being like, okay, I'm going to pretend that I'm not bothered by this thing that happened or whatever, because that just builds up, and it's got to come out somewhere. And so if you can actually talk about it and go through it together as a team, then you can actually get through it and get positive results. So that would be the open communication and just respect, like understanding that a person is a person and they're going to have feelings. And if I'm the boss and you're working for me, that doesn't mean that I'm better than you. That means that it's a situation for us to be like, hey, we're both humans, and let's have a conversation as a human. And I'm going to treat you with respect, but I expect that you're also going to treat me with respect. Absolutely. And so I think that's what I definitely have tried to do anytime that I have like I'm managing a team or managing people. And then and because of it, I expect that when I work on teams as well. It's like, if you're not going to respect me, then we can't work together, because like it's just, this isn't going to work out.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I love that. I mean, I think, obviously for a lot of people might seem something obvious, but we get, you can work in a business. And I think sometimes that can get lost with everything that's going on.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Yeah. You've got business you're driving to get results, targets, all that kind of stuff. And I think sometimes you said that sort of stuff can sort of get forgotten about, and it can make a difference. You want to retain your people, and
that's
people,
what I say.
Yeah,
I say that so much. Like, if you don't respect your people, it's actually going to cost you more in the long run, because then they're going to leave, and then you're going to have to go through the whole process of rehiring people again. So it's actually significantly more beneficial to just have that communication in the first place. So you're not doubling your efforts in a work capacity. You're not doubling your efforts in just a general personal capacity, culture capacity, anything. Like you're actually being more efficient, saving more money in the long run if you just treat people with respect and have open communication.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I think ultimately that helps in all forms of life, right? Being able to have an open, communication, whether it be, a partner, whatever it is, usually it leads to better things down the road if you can have a communicate. Worst thing you want is a team member or someone not wanting to talk or say something, in fear that they're going to get struck down or that kind of stuff. So yeah, no, I think that's it. I think that's definitely the key. Okay, yeah, and just we again, obviously find a kind of sort of, we're trying to drive the way, for partnerships in terms of really sort of helping businesses to get that first call with another party. And obviously again, so we're driving change in that world. What would you say, do you think the future maybe holds? So, obviously for you personally, doing what you're doing now, as you said, you've got up to 30, events, which is absolutely incredible.
Three. I'm just going to clarify the number 3, not 30. I don't do 30 events.
Right. Sorry. Okay. I did think that was a lot. I'm like, where'd you find the time?
No, there's no time for that. No, 3, average of 3 a week.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. That's my bad. Right. 3. That makes sense. Right. So even more so for this question, what do you think maybe the future holds in terms of maybe doing these things a bit differently? Obviously from your experience, they said worked in different countries, different businesses. I mean, you would have seen, I guess, how things have evolved, in terms of, where you kind of work, the way people are trying to get new business, or the way, they're doing things within the organization. Things obviously, we kind of change all the time. COVID's the biggest one, obviously 3-4 years ago, what it was 5 years ago now, pretty much changed the way, most people, obviously work. I mean, I'm sat here now working remotely. I don't think this would have been such a big thing, years ago. A lot of companies now have the, trust in the employees that they can be, working from home or hybrid, and that they can still obviously get the results. So, but, I said, things are always evolving, changing. What do you think kind of you for yourself, you think you're going to look to maybe do differently, or there's tools or stuff out there that maybe is going to help you to find new business, right? Because ultimately that's kind of what you're trying to do. So yeah, just any ideas on that? I mean, obviously AI is one of the big things that obviously gets talked about. I don't know if that would meet sort of suit in terms of kind of what you're sort of doing, but yeah, just any ideas kind of what you think the future holds in that sort of space of finding new business, essentially, getting to talk to people and stuff like that.
I can't say that I have any new designs on AI to the world or anything in that respect. I think that it's sort of a mix of two different things for me. I'm going the old-fashioned route of shaking somebody's hand, looking at them in the eye in person, and having that conversation.
We'll never go away, by the way. That will always be there. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then on top of that, I think partnering with a lot of companies, or partnering with companies such as Finder that have the networks where you go in and they sort of create that bridge between both parties. I think that there's a lot of there's a growing number of those situations in different aspects of, I mean, I've talked to somebody who has one for AI, and they match jobs with AI with the companies that need them. And then they have, then there's Finder, and there's a variety of different networks. And then also other agencies that have companies in their portfolio, and then they also have consultants in their portfolio. So the way I sort of approach things, I'm sort of like a hands-on consultant in a sense. And so it's sort of partnering with those companies that do have that bridge. I think that's sort of the biggest area that's different than just shaking somebody's hand and talking in person. That would be the most applicable for what I'm doing. As far as how that's going to go, and as time goes on, I've just kind of come to the conclusion that I can't predict anything at this point because life has just changed so dramatically that I just am like, well, just roll with the punches and go with the flow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously I like that as well. As I said, it sounds like, you're adaptable to things, right? You don't want to be in a place where you rely on something too much. And then, if that doesn't obviously work, then you're kind of sort of stuck a bit. So that's obviously one of a key, attribute to have. So, but yeah, I mean, obviously you mentioned with like Finder and stuff, obviously again, we haven't paid you to say that, but we're trying to build that, sort of like community, and like I said, the events and stuff that we do is obviously it's a great opportunity for people to get together, and just have those conversations. You never know. You just never know where something
you never know where something's going to lead, honestly, and just being able to go with it and see how things go is always really good.
That's fantastic. Cool. All right. Well, so just on to the last question. Again, we like to do this also for a bit of fun. So, again, for yourself, I mean, again, this could be something for your sort of personal life, or it can be from a, business perspective, entirely up to you. But you said, if you could partner with any, sort of business, or, maybe a particular person, who would that be, and why?
Let me see. That is a really good question. Yeah. I would have to say, I swear everything is just leaving my head of all.
That's all right. That's all right. Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's it's a bit of one of those questions that could be anything. But we all just like asking. I mean, sometimes there's a particular business. Maybe like you said, there's a business that you talked earlier about. Holds the right values, culture, that kind of stuff. That you really really sort of sits with you, and you kind of like to work with, or maybe it's a particular person. I don't know. It could be someone that you've seen speaking, or like an event, or could be someone that you feel that you sort of resonate with. You really like the way that person works, their attitude, all that kind of stuff, and you'd love you just think working with that person would make a big difference. Just it's like that type of thing.
I think the answer that I'm going to give is more broad than specific, in that I think it's not as much about the specific person or the specific company. I think the ideal company that I would like to work with would be the ones that have those really cool projects on the go that you're like, wow, that's like life-changing. That's going to help in so many aspects, whether that's like food growth or travel development or something, anything that's like so unique, and you're a part of something that's this development of something brand new. Those are so fun. And I think I would say that I love the challenge of that as well, because it's something different than just, your run of the mill sort of generalized business. I think that would be the ideal for me, something tricky.
Yeah, no, I love that. I mean, this is the beauty of the thing. Like, we like different answers, and that's something different. Like I said, I mean, obviously the amount of stuff that's obviously going on, in the world today, like you said, in terms of like just the variety of ththings that have been worked on. One of the things has been amazing since I've worked at Finder is that I get to talk to so many different types of businesses, basically things that I just didn't know existed.
There's so many businesses out there.
I'm like, that's a business. You a company out there. I'm just like, wow. But it's just opened my eyes, because it just shows how many different varied types of sort of business and stuff that is actually it's out there.
There are so many.
It's just it's incredible. Look, we've obviously come to the end. Again, just want to say really appreciate coming. Speaking to us here at Finder, and like I said, we just wish you all the best with what you're doing. Hopefully, you'll be in the UK for a little while, and things will work out. And I said, look forward to working with you in the future.
Amazing. Well, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Well, thanks very much.
Thanks for joining this week's Game Set Matchup. Tune in to hear more about the need to knows and the do's and don'ts when it comes to creating successful business partnerships.